Okay, I'm so sorry. I just give me a second. I did a picture, and then I give you.
Should we look?
You eat more than one.
Okay.
I'll tell you who we are. Oh, okay.
Such an honor.
Last year you come here play or just this year?
No, this year. No. That was the first year we played.
Oh,
here. Yes.
this is the first time. Okay. How was you feel this game?
Well, I mean, it's a very poignant occasion for us to be able to play here and to be on stage with Holocaust survivors who speak firsthand of their experience, and to be able to accompany that with our music, and to be the generation that will be talking about the Holocaust in a few years when the Holocaust survivors will no longer be with us and no longer be alive. So it's a great honor.
So where you come from?
I am from Switzerland.
Oh, Switzerland.
And I live in Germany. I live in Berlin.
Oh, I see. You speak a Deutsch?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Dankeschön.
Yeah.
I've been in Germany many times.
I lived in Germany for 25 years now.
So you play the violin?
I play the violin, yes.
I see. Very nice to
Very
meet
nice to meet you. Great pleasure.
Do you have the business?
Just one after this. Be the bridge between
So you are
the past and Israel. Yes. Yes. And we are very happy to be here and to be able to bring this message of the past and the future all together.
Right.
We are very
Celebrating from last year and
Yes.
this year,
Yes.
second time I come.
Yes, very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It is my great honor to welcome you to the annual observance of the International Day of Commemoration in memory of the victims of the Holocaust. My name is Melissa Fleming, and I am the Under-Secretary General for Global Communications at the United Nations. On behalf of all of you who are here today and all of those who join us virtually from around the world, I express our deep gratitude to the survivors who will address us on this solemn occasion. We wish to acknowledge Ms. Marion Blumenthal-Lazan, child survivor of Bergen-Belsen, who would have shared her testimony with us today, but sadly her husband Nathaniel died yesterday, and we like to send her and her family our sincere condolences. And we acknowledge and appreciate the courage it takes for survivors to share their memories of the Holocaust.
President Isaac Herzog, Excellencies, dear friends, it is an honor to be here with you. I'm humbled to have Holocaust survivors and their families with us today. And before we begin, I want to acknowledge that more than a year has passed since the appalling 7th of October terror attack by Hamas. We welcome at long last the ceasefire and hostage release deal. The deal offers hope as well as much needed relief. And we will do our utmost to ensure it leads to the release of all hostages. Since the beginning, we have asked for the unconditional and immediate release of all hostages and to a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Dear friends, every year on this day, we come together to mark the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau. We mourn the 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators as they sought to destroy an entire people. We grieve the Roma and Sinti, also targeted for genocide, the people with disabilities, LGBTIQ+ people, and all those enslaved, persecuted, tortured, and killed. We stand alongside victims, survivors, and their families, and we renew our resolve never to forget the atrocities that so outrage the conscience of humankind.
Herzog, President of the State of Israel, Mr. Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome all of you to this occasion.
The yellow ribbon hostages symbol, surrounded by barbed wire. The coins that survived humanity's darkest hours became the canvas for creating a pin that symbolizes the story of a nation, a symbol of survival, a symbol of faith, a symbol of hope, a symbol of longing, a symbol of remembrance, a symbol of outcry, the outcry of so many generations calling for justice, for humanity. Omer's parents, Orna and Ronen Nutra, are here with us today. Like Ronen, Orna also comes from a family of Holocaust survivors. Her father, Simcha, is a living testimony to this day. For over 400 days, Ronen wore the pin on his lapel, hoping and praying for his son's return. A few weeks ago, the Nutra family received the devastating news. Captain Omer Nutra fell heroically in the Battle of October 7th. His body is being held by murderous terrorists in Gaza. I stand before you as president of a nation that is determined and proud, and yet anguished and incomplete. Although the Israeli people have been overcome with emotion, seeing 7 of our daughters at last emerge heroically from hell, still 90 Israelis and foreign nationals remain in Hamas captivity. We are anxiously waiting 6 more to be freed this week and awaiting all others. I call on all representatives in this General Assembly, all who consider themselves part of the civilized world, to throw your weight to ensure our hostages return to their homes, every single one of them. Bring them back home now. Fathers and mothers, brothers and sisters have been torn from our midst. Be you, Almighty God, the guardian of all the captives. Protect them from all trouble and distress. Give them strength to endure torment and grant them life, so they may merit return to their families. Amen.
Amen.
Dearest Holocaust survivors, United Nations Secretary General Mr. Antonio Guterres, thank you for this meaningful invitation. President of this session of the General Assembly, His Excellency Mr. Permanent Representative of Israel to the United Nations, His Excellency Mr. Danon and distinguished permanent representatives, ladies and gentlemen. Precisely 80 years ago today, on January 27, 1945, the gates of hell opened, collapsed. Auschwitz, the largest and most vicious death factory in human history, was liberated by the Soviet Union Red Army. In many other death camps, the horror continued for months until they were liberated by the Allied forces, the Red Army, the American Army, the British Army, and the heroic armies of many other nations. 6 million Jews, 1/3 of the Jewish people at the time, were systematically slaughtered by the Nazis and their collaborators. It was history's most monstrous, sadistic, premeditated, and meticulously executed mass murder. Murder in gas chambers, in crematoriums, in ghettos, in death valleys, in death marches, in death camps, in the darkest, most abhorrent chapter in human history. First out, a melody that would not allow hope to fade. One day, a Nazi guard heard the melody of the harmonica. He ordered Shmuel to participate in the Auschwitz Death Orchestra, to play music while Jews were marched to their horrific death in the gas chambers. When my cousins marched to their death in front of me, Logan recounted, I closed my eyes and said, enough, I cannot look anymore. There in those moments he vowed, if he survived, he would dedicate his life to teaching music to children. From the darkest and cruelest of hours emerged a message of hope and determination to revive the melody of life. Shmuel immigrated to Israel and taught harmonica for many years. He returned to Auschwitz in 1990 on an emotional journey alongside pupils from the harmonica orchestra he established in Israel and played them for the first time with his eyes open. There is a well-known Hebrew phrase, את המנגינה הזאת אי אפשר להפסיק. This melody cannot be stopped. The wail of the harmonica, the melody Gogol played in the Holocaust, became the melody of Jewish rebirth and survival. The sound of horror, grief, and death became, through the courage of many, including the survivors of the Holocaust, sounds of building, of life, of faith, of hope, the sounds of the State of Israel. Be blessed and engraved upon the heart of all humanity for eternity. Am Israel Chai.
They are a form of anti-Semitism and are often coupled with xenophobia. History shows, as hatred directed at Jews rises, violence and attacks on the foundations of democracy are not far behind. It is vital that we confront this problem at this moment. The Anti-Defamation League, ADL, recently released Global 100 survey highlights, which highlight significant trends and areas of concern regarding anti-Semitic attributes worldwide. It was conducted in 103 countries and territories. According to this survey, 46% of adults harbor elevated levels of anti-Semitic sentiment. This represents an estimated 2.2 billion people worldwide, marking the highest level since the ADL began tracking these trends over a decade ago. The data also highlights a troubling increase in anti-Semitic attitudes among younger demographics, with significant implications for future societal dynamics. Holocaust distortion is now 13 percentage points more prevalent than Holocaust denialism. Although the survey has no specific data on the exact cause of this, ADL experts believe that social media and new malicious variations of mis- and disinformation are playing a major role in Holocaust distortion. Despite these alarming statistics, the results also show global acknowledgement of anti-Semitism as a pressing issue, with the majority recognizing it as a serious problem. This presents a crucial opportunity for governmental action and policy intervention to combat these biases effectively. We urge the endorsement and implementation of the global guidelines for countering anti-Semitism, already embraced by scores of nations and organizations, as an essential step toward mitigating the surge of global anti-Semitism. The United States also embraces the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism, inclusive of its examples. As a founding member of the 35-member International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, we encourage the IHRA's recommendations for for teaching and learning about the Holocaust. The challenge now lies in putting these guidelines into practice. The UN must demonstrate its full commitment to its human rights mandate and take concrete steps that will lead to tangible progress. Together we can make a difference. Together we can stamp out hate. Atrocities like the Holocaust don't just happen. They are allowed to happen. It is up to us to stop them. Never again. I thank you.
Dear friends, how do the children and grandchildren of survivors respond to the legacy of the Holocaust? Noor Ben Shalom, a third-generation survivor, founded the project Lebensmelodien, or Life Melodies, in response to a letter from his great aunt, Salomea Oxluft. She was a Jewish pianist, and she wrote to her family shortly before she was deported in 1943. In her letter, Salomea described the terrible persecution of the Jews. Knowing that she would not survive the Holocaust, she begged her relatives to avenge her death. Noor Ben Shalom struggled to respond to this plea. Then he realized he could honor Salomea's call as a musician. He would make known the music that gave comfort to Jewish people in the face of approaching death. The Lebensmelodien project ensemble comprises renowned classical musicians. A well-known actor is invited to narrate the story of each piece. And today we're pleased to have the award-winning actor, Ms. Tova Belshut, join the Lebensmelodien project ensemble as the narrator. We invite her now to open the first presentation by the Lebensmelodien project ensemble, Had Gadja, composed by Shmuel Elblaz. Thank you, Ms.
Shmuel Blush. Shmuel Blush served as the chief cantor of the great Edgar synagogue in Edgar, Hungary. He and his wife, Rivka Blush, were known for their warm hospitality, welcoming travelers of all backgrounds, regardless of color or religion, to their Shabbat table. But even the city's bishop was a regular guest, and often requested that Shmuel compose musical pieces for his church services at the Basilica of Edgar. When the Nazis occupied Hungary, they desecrated the Edgar synagogue, converting it into a horse stable. The Blush family was forcibly sent to the ghetto and later deported to Auschwitz-Birkenau on June 8, 1944. From their large and their close-knit family, only 5 of their children survived the Holocaust and later immigrated to the United States of America and to Israel, and happily, many of them are here today. During the war, Shmuel Blush was drafted into the Hungarian labor service, and at the same time, a young man in his 30s, Shmuel Lazarovich, was also drafted into the Hungarian labor service. And these two men ended up working side by side. Shmuel Blush taught his new friend Lazarovich an original composition of his, a Hungarian version of the song, a famous tune from the Haggadah sung at the Passover Seder. One of these two Shmuels jotted down a melodic line on a piece of paper, thereby preserving Blush's melody. When Lazarovich briefly returned to his village of Hedges on Louis, he left the page in a side cabinet in his home. In March of 1944, the German army invaded Hungary, and many Hungarian Jews, of course, perished, including Shmuel Blush. Lazarovich himself was deported to Danon.
We acknowledge also the family of Shmuel Elbaz, who are with us today.
Domnule secretar general, excelența dumneavoastră, doamnelor și domnilor, este o mare onoare să mă aflu în fața dumneavoastră astăzi. Să vorbesc aici la Națiunile Unite este ceva ceea ce nici n-am chipit. Nu mi-am imaginat că voi fi în față. Sunt aici nu doar pentru mine, dar și pentru toți romii care au suferit și au fost neauziți, să fie auziți.
March of mothers with their babies in their arms in a freezing cold night in December. My mother is in this march with me in her arms. And then she did something with a sudden movement. She tore off the yellow star, ran out of the line, and found a shelter under a gate.
Nisan was born in 1876 in the town of Zhikov, Poland. He had a fine singing voice and would lead the Sabbath and the Jewish holiday prayers in the town's synagogue. The story is told that the Hasidic rabbi of Vishnitz, who was Ukrainian, Rabbi Israel Hager, on a visit to Zhikov, heard Yus in the synagogue, and he was extremely impressed by him, to the point that Rabbi Hagar invited Yus to move to his synagogue in Transylvania. Yus did, and he quickly became the head cantor in that synagogue. As such, Yus began to write his own liturgical compositions. So moving were his pieces that Jews from other towns would come especially to hear the nigunim sung at that synagogue. With the Nazi occupation of Hungary, Nisan Yus, like all the Jews of his town, was interned in a ghetto, and in 1944 was deported.
Вот они подошли совсем близко, и мы увидели, что они улыбаются. Улыбаются или ухмыляются. Я пригляделся. Да, это точно были люди, настоящие. Счастье и радость вынули на нас и забили ключом. Мы в безопасности, мы свободны. Плача и смеясь, покинулись обнимать солдат. Мы свободны, кричал солдат. Смех смешался со слезами облегчения. Это был звук победы. Советские солдаты сами не сдерживали слез и смеха, обнимали нас в ответ. Они угостили нас печеньем и шоколадом, самыми вкусными на свете. Это для нас был вкус свободы. Конец цитаты. Уверен, что дети, принимавшие в тот день сладости из рук советских солдат, не могли себе и представить, что пройдет каких-то несколько десятилетий. Решающая роль советской армии в уничтожении нацизма и прекращении Холокоста начнет подвергаться сомнению, что страна, на территории которой находится Освенцим, будет сносить память солдатам и офицерам Красной Армии, которые освободили их страну и лагерь смерти, что представители государства, принесшего освобождение от нацистской машины смерти, не будут сегодня приглашены на мемориальные мероприятия самым лучшим. Не могли узники Освенцима представить того, что нацизм и неонацизм начнет поднимать свою голову во многих частях мира, как сегодня верно отметил генеральный секретарь ООН. Не могли они представить, что дни освобождения от нацистских войск объявят днями траура, что появятся обелиски и улицы в честь ветеранов СС, что будут проводиться неонацистские марши, а ветеранам антигитлеровской коалиции запретят носить свои ордена и медали. Именно поэтому мы ежегодно вносим в рассмотрение Генеральной Ассамблеи ООН резолюцию о борьбе с героизацией нацизма.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I stand here before you as the ambassador of the European Union. The European Union that rose from the ashes of the Second World War, from the biggest human rights violation in recent history, the Holocaust. By choosing to unite at the heels of that horror, we pledge above all else never to allow ourselves either the desire or the means to ever again perpetrate such atrocities. In memory of the victims, we join forces to make such moral and material self-destruction unthinkable in Europe or anywhere else in the world. To turn an unprecedented labor of hate into a labor of love. Even today, 80 years to the day since its liberation, the name Auschwitz-Birkenau is shorthand for one of the darkest periods of human history, a monument to that hate. On behalf of the European Union, I honor the survivors we heard from today. You are our connection with all the lives, the loves, the dreams interrupted there, of all those whose bodies may have perished in the Holocaust, but whose memory is everlasting. Jewish people in the millions, but also all others identified as murdered simply because of who they were or what they believed in. Friends, as wartime memories fade, and first-hand testimony becomes ever more precious,
make their way back to their seats. And while you're doing that, I would like to welcome Cantor Eric S. Freeman from Yeshiva University, who will recite the memorial prayers. And I ask all of you who can to please stand and rise. Thank you.
I realize it is my eyes that give away my secret, that I swear I am his answer.
Friends, much has changed in the last 80 years, and much sadly remains the same. We have not yet defeated prejudice, while hatred and war continue to scar and maim and kill. And we stand in the shadow of ongoing suffering, death, and destruction across the globe. So today and every day, we ask ourselves, and particularly after a ceremony like this, what can we do? What remains is the imperative to remember the history, keep the voices and the memories alive. And we hope that we have done that with dignity in this ceremony. We will end our observance with a pledge to those who were murdered and those who survived to continue to tell the history. We will never forget. We will remember, and we will work together and do all that we can to build a world that is just, in which all live in peace and in dignity. Thank you for joining us today. May I please kindly ask you to remain in your seats until the dignitaries and the survivors have left the hall. Thank you so much for joining us, and be well.